There were only 4 places in that ridge that our troops could climb, and then only single file. And it was absolutely essential that they get on top of that ridge before the enemy was alerted.
It was at this point that the division's special talents first came into play. Expert rock climbers of the 1st Battalion of the 86th began climbing the ridge's jagged rocks to a height of 1,500 feet and, without making a sound, fixed ropes for the use of units that were moving up from below.
We flashed some searchlights on the cloud formation up above, and that reflected back just a little bit of light on the hill mountainside, which enabled them to see a little bit of the rock structure that they had to climb.
All ropes were secured by midnight. The entire valley below was still.
Helmut, pass auf von links! Come on, you bunch of ridge runners! Get the lead out!
After 2 hours of combat, there was still no word from the men on top of the ridge. It was reported, however, that the first of several wounded were on their way down. To General Hayes, there were 2 questions. Would mountain climbers prove to be the answer to the Gothic line? And would their special talents plus the strategy of surprise help keep initial casualties down? After midnight, the first indications of success trickled down to the valley below. Company B of the 86th had dislodged all German troops from the top of Rivas Mount Capelbuso. At dawn, a single platoon of Company A reported that it had occupied the northern end of the ridge, Piso di Campopiano.
Das ist Campopiano. Bis morgen früh haben wir die Bande runtergeschmissen. Gehen wir!
German counterattacks came as expected. They were vicious, but were doomed to failure when a young lieutenant in charge of the lonely platoon checked the German thrust by calling for dangerously close artillery support. By morning of the following day, the ridge was ours. The 10th Mountain Division, still considered green, had chopped the key threat out of the Gothic line. Belvedere was next. In the early morning hours, while initial mopping-up operations got underway on Riva Ridge, the 10th let loose with a terrible hail of steel against Gorgolesco and Belvedere. It did not inspire peace of mind in the men who waited below, for the Germans had, after all, overcome that kind of shellacking on 3 previous occasions.
Feindliche Kampfflugzeuge vom Westen im Anflug! Ganz tief!
When it seemed as though the hill had died, the 85th and 87th regiments pushed off for the minefields above them.
Da kommen sie! Lass sie kommen!
the Germans had two weapons. They had an 88 and they had the burp gun. Of course, they had a Luger, but that was the kind of thing you got as a souvenir. The burp gun was something you were afraid of. The 88 was something you should be definitely concerned with.
On the morning of the 20th, one whole battalion of the 85th reached the top of Mount Belvedere. But the trick, as they soon discovered, was not just to reach it, but to hold it. As the 87th swung to the northeast to firm up the Belvedere line, evidence of the cost of that action began to show. The Germans rushed the 741st Jaeger Regiment into the line. And the 10th climbed up to meet them. They wept as they crawled, and they screamed, and the Germans who saw them thought they were crazy. And the Germans cried too, some out of pity, some out of fear, and some out of disbelief. By the 22nd, it became obvious to both American and German commanders that the 10th was no ordinary combat outfit, for by that day it had become clear that it would succeed in holding the objectives assigned to it. News of this relentlessly aggressive outfit spread deep into the German lines. Prisoners revealed that their commanders had called it the Elite Mountain Division.